Hey everybody, this is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to the Baby Faces on iHeart Radio.
Hey guys, this is WWE superstar Tiffany Stratton, and you're listening to the Baby Faces on iHeart Radio.
What's going on, y'all? It's WWE superstar Kofi Kingston, and you're listening to the Baby Faces on iHeart Radio, baby!
All right, guys, you hear that music? That means we are back. It's a Baby Faces podcast only on iHeartRadio, powered by 97.5 WAMZ. It's Kentuckiana's #1 for country. We are back in studio with a very special guest today. He's one of the hottest up-and-coming stars in wrestling, TNA Impact superstar. You can also find him sometimes on WWE's NXT as well. That's just telling you how big that TNA is getting. They're just getting their face on everything. And speaking of face, we have one of the best faces in all wrestling right now. Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry is here. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks for having me in.
Dude, not a problem. It's very gracious that you decided to show up and do your whole tour today. You just got into town today, correct?
Yeah, literally just off the plane, started the media day, and here we are.
And you're already soaking it up with kind of getting confused with the whole downtown 4th Street Live experience. So that makes you probably about 1/3 of a Louisvillian. So congratulations on that. Take that for how you will. So Louisville, I don't know if you've really noticed or taken it in, and Kentucky especially, it's known for 3 things, right? You got bourbon, basketball, and horse racing. Are you a fan of any of those 3 things?
So I don't really drink.
Okay,
and I say I don't really drink because I don't drink until one of my colleagues just won't shut up, and then I'll go, okay, I'll have one beer. I'll have one beer. So I end up having probably, I would say, 4 beers a year. But
Gotcha.
Bourbon usually doesn't make it. But I will say, if I do happen to be on one of the days where I will sample a drink and I'm in Louisville, I will try bourbon.
That's a great time. There's so many different distilleries down here. Angel's Envy. You could check out a whole bunch of things that's down here, actually in the downtown area. So we already learned one thing about you. You already succumb easily to peer pressure. So if you want to get Joe Hendry to drink, all you got to do is just not shut up about it. I love it how
just before we started, he goes, hey, it's not a gotcha interview. It's not anything like that. We're about 2 minutes in, and here we go.
Well, listen, we are the baby faces, but Billy will call me the heel of the podcast. So I don't know where he gets that from. Maybe I like to poke and prod a little bit, but we're here to talk about the very special occasion that you're in here. We're talking TNA Impact Emergence. It's going down right in my stomping grounds over there in the Highlands, Paris Town, Old Forester Paris Town Hall. Kind of talk us through what that event's going to be like. It's a 2-night event, but night 1 is already sold out this Friday, so that leaves very limited room for Saturday. Talk to me about how excited you are to perform here in Louisville, and especially at Paris Town Hall. It's really one of the coolest venues. We have all sorts of rock concerts, everything down there, parties. It's a great time. What are you looking forward to most when you wrestle this weekend?
I'm very much looking forward to it. As you mentioned, we're sold out on the Friday, which is amazing, and it's something that is very common for us now. We're on a really hot streak here at TNA, and we have been for a while now. And I'm very excited to be a part of that. So Friday, like I say, is sold out. It's going to be an amazing show. We've got, our roster top to bottom is just absolutely unbelievable. You've got, household names. You've got legends. Like
sure.
on Friday, I'm going to be teaming with the Hardys, which is just, I said this once before, but when I was young, I only had like 10 wrestling action figures, and 2 of them were Matt and Jeff, so it's pretty cool for me to be tagging with them. And Santana's going to be joining me in that match as well against the System. Obviously, we've got the world title on the line as well. But here's the thing. So the Saturday is not yet sold out. And I tell people they always make the mistake because I can't tell you how many days something awesome has been dropped on the taping. So you're going to see all the action for TV is what after the pay-per-view is what you're going to see on the Saturday. So I would say to people, avoid disappointment. You're going to love the show. And like I say, there's lots of cool things that happen on that Saturday as well that you won't want to miss.
Yeah, I think you just kind of laid it down nicely. Anything can happen at these shows because you're not only just setting up what's going on that day, but you can also be taping and setting the footwork for whatever may come after that. And you mentioned Matt and Jeff and all these tons of legends. Heck, you have Nick Nemeth that's made his way down there. And especially since a Slammiversary pay-per-view not too long ago, And I know this is something because we've had TNA wrestlers on in the past. What's that morale kind of been like in the locker room? I know that you guys have had the partnership with WWE and that's helped you out a lot. But even before that, TNA Impact was kind of making a resurgence back, and it's starting to gain a lot more respect from wrestling fans all around the country that just only, of course, pay attention to the two main promotions, if you will. So if you can kind of talk about what everybody's mental is like in that locker room, what's kind of the vibe, and how does everybody feel about kind of spearheading this next generation of TNA Impact?
Well, I think that what we're proving at all times is that TNA talent are up there with the very best. You know, I would put people on our roster against anybody. And,
sure.
You know, if you look at what we've been doing, you mentioned the WWE affiliation that's been awesome. If you look at the performance that Jordan put on when she was in the Rumble, if you look at the spot that I'm in, you know, this Sunday at No Mercy, it's like, to me, that's a testament for what we as a roster can bring to the table, you know, and I would put our stars against any promotion in the world. So it's very exciting where you can have, you know, different promotions working together. But as you said, the buzz has been going on for quite a long time now. We've been building up slowly but surely. We've just been working so hard to get TNA to where we want it to go and to continue to grow. So, you know, you can go back to Hard to Kill in Vegas, which was just, you know, an incredible event for us. But I think you can go back further than that as well. You know, there's been lots of little moments where I've just felt something like, for example, we were in Philadelphia in June, I think, perhaps. Maybe May, June, that sort of time. And I remember just feeling something a little different in the air as well. That was like another step. Yeah. Just when the, you know, hey, the attendance is up, the energy's up. Like, people are really excited for TNA wrestling. When I look back at the wrestling I used to enjoy, I used to have a video iPod and it had space for one match. And what I had was Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. From TNA Wrestling, and I believe it was 2006. Yeah. So that to think about that, you know, and now that I'm here in the company, in the position that I'm in, is pretty wild. It is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of mentioned, well, the first thing I want to write down is you just mentioned buzz. That's something that TNA has had for a very long time now. We've had Jordan Grace and Josh Alexander on in the past, and they weren't too bullish on saying we have some of the best talent in wrestling and you should be watching TNA Impact. And I 100%, you know, agree with them. And you just mentioned the Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. Wow, did you have to really mention how old I feel right now? The video iPods, man, that was great. Some of Kurt Angle's best work probably came in TNA during those days. So it's just something about that TNA that sort of allows you to be who you are and really kind of get yourself over. If you can kind of talk about that, especially you, man. I mean, the I Believe in Joe Hendry, you talk about the buzz ever since this past spring and really kind of making a bigger name for yourself. I know, respect to you, you've been wrestling all around the world. What has that buzz like been for you personally to have everything catch on, your persona? Heck, your entrance music itself has charted on UK charts and has made Apple iTunes and stuff like that. What's that wave been like for you to ride over the last few months?
Just to give an example, I remember when I came back to TNA, and this is when I just started again on the run I'm on now with TNA Wrestling. I remember talking to management. They were like, we think the fans are going to be pretty excited for you being here. And I was like, guys, all due respect, I was at a wrestling convention earlier this year. I wasn't getting recognized. People didn't know who I was. I think we're starting from the bottom here. So just I don't want to raise your expectations too high. And I walked out and Bound for Glory and the place went nuts. So, and that led to me getting a long-term deal with TNA, but it was that support and that energy from the fans that I've genuinely felt from day one. I feel like for me personally, I've had to fight, scratch and claw for every moment that I'm having right now. I've, you know, anybody who knows me and has seen the work that I've put in with the videos, but even beyond that, just like constantly trying to improve my craft and, you know, be a professional and do things to contribute to the company. Like I've fought, scratched and clawed for everything that I've got right now. But I'm very lucky to be in a spot where I can be creative. I've got like a great bond with the fans as well. Like the energy in the buildings, it's just, you have to see TNA Wrestling live to experience it.
So when you come up with when you have the I Believe in Joe Hendry and you have your in-ring persona, and you just kind of mentioned it's exciting, I've always just kind of thought that when you're trying to find something that, the sticks and resonate with the fans. Is that something that you're nervous about when you first bring that? Like, you just kind of think, how are the fans going to receive this? I know you put a lot of work into your character, your entrance, stuff like that. What kind of goes through your mind when you're about to kind of make another run as, kind of being more of yourself rather than just like a caricature?
So with my entrance theme, I think I subscribe to the methodology that rather than, looking in the mirror and saying your affirmations, it's like build a body of work that is undeniable, that means you are who you say you are. Prove it to yourself that you are who you say you are. So for me, that's what it's been. I'm not kind of thinking, oh man, like what is the reaction going to be? It's like at this point, it's like I'm just excited to go out there and let what'll be. It's like that, and that's the thing that's amazing about wrestling. The fans will let you know what they like and what they don't like. If I walk out tomorrow and everybody starts booing me, well then, either you can go, oh man, that's you can be sad about it, or you can say maybe there's an opportunity here.
Right.
So it's a constant back and forth with the fan base in professional wrestling, and I enjoy that, and I enjoy the challenge of that. And that, to me, that's what makes professional wrestling a unique art form, is that back and forth, that relationship with the audience and the performers. And I think that TNA wrestling for me is such an awesome show because there's something for everyone. So if you are a fan of entertainment in general, there's going to be something for you.
Yeah, sure. You just mentioned that entertainment, wrestling, it's always went hand in hand, right? And I feel like, well, I don't think you have to worry about people booing you for a while. You are one of the people, I mean, your NXT debut, and just kind of hearing the Performance Center go a little crazy as soon as they hear that theme song. And like I said, it's very character driven. I believe in Joe Hendry. How did that moniker come about, and what all went into going with that and just kind of going with that character?
Well, I just reverse engineered what I wanted to happen. I recognized from when I started in the business that it's all about audience participation. And I thought, how can people participate while they're sitting or standing in an arena? And I was like, well, they can wave their hands, they can clap their hands, they can sing. And, I would quite like them to believe in Joe Hendry. So I created this song that is basically, it instructs everyone to do just that. So yeah, reverse engineered it from what I wanted to happen. And I was obsessed with music, like all day, every day, just writing songs, playing music for 10 years. So I believe that I'm a very good songwriter, and that's why when, TNA or like anybody in management or whatever, or if something comes up, an opportunity I see, the day before, I can go, yeah, we can have a song for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I feel really confident that I'm in a small club of people who can do that.
Sure. And you would say, I mean, definitely Joe Hendry is over, and we hate using little inside terms like that because we're not wrestlers. We are marks.
The podcast is called The Baby Faces.
That's true. Once again, I am the heel of the podcast. I would argue that you
quite like it.
Okay. I guess when me and Billy are kind of in it together, and we don't have a jacked superstar sitting in front of us, we kind of actually act like we're one of the boys or something like that. It's more or less me, because Billy, shout out to you if you're listening somewhere. He always calls me the heel of the group. I'm just kind of nasty to some people online that just kind of get at me.
Who are you nasty to?
I just other I like to say other marks, and we just had Maven Huffman on not too long ago, and I always try to tell him
he's killing it. He's killing it.
He is awesome.
I know how YouTube works, and I'm telling you that. Good for Maven. Good for Maven.
He is awesome. And I remember watching him as a little kid, and I brought up to him that my girlfriend always digs at me and calls me a mark, and I hate that term because I love wrestling. And then I just had to break it down to Maven, and he said, "What do you love about wrestling?" And I start telling him, and he said, "Well, kind of sounds like you're a mark." And I'm like, well, I kind of guess I'm right with that. So there's just a lot of times I'm a shock jock. I like to do shock humor, whatever I can get to for some people just to write me back or yell at me. I've been blocked by some people, but that's fine. It's a free world. One of the things that I'm amazed about, and always have been amazed about, and you could just look at yourself right now. I mean, you look like an actual wrestler. You have a very fun character, and you have something that gets the crowd involved. But beyond that, you're an intense competitor. What's it like separating like the humor aspect of what you have and getting the fans into it to translating into the ring and just kind of showing that you are the real deal?
That was a real challenge, actually, and it's funny because I was talking to someone I was talking to someone on the roster, and we were talking about who we were as on the show, and people don't know that I actually, at the age of 26, I did amateur wrestling. I won, the British Championship in freestyle and Greco, so I do actually have that. But I was finding a disconnect between that intensity and who I was in the songs and the videos. So now I think I've finally found a place where actually the challenge that I was given by TNA management was to how can you carry the reactions that you're getting from your entrance songs and the videos and bring them into the matches. And now they're there, and I get it now. But at the time when you're learning that and you're trying to become a better performer, you don't know the answers. It's like in the film The Matrix. It's like before you can, start dodging bullets and things like that, it's
slow motion.
Yeah, it's almost like, have you ever played Metroid?
Yes.
So when at the end of the games, when you have all the add-ons and all that, and you just breeze through the game, and everything that seemed like a challenge, you go through the areas that seemed like a challenge before, and now you're just ripping.
You just
it up.
know
you're
it
just
now.
running right past. You've got all the add-ons, you've got all the equipment. That's kind of how it feels now. Like I look back to where I was 6 months ago, a year ago, and just thinking, I just felt like I had this something, wasn't fully clicking. I just had this problem to solve, but I just genuinely, I'm just so committed to being better and being the best that I can be for TNA wrestling. I do believe that I can be a leader for TNA wrestling, not just with the with what I'm doing on the show, but also like I do feel that I've learned throughout all this. I've learned a lot about promotion, about content, about audience reaction. I think that I can contribute a lot, and that's because I've never just I could have just coasted on my entrance in the character, but like I say, I've been I've been in the performance center training every day, to try and get better at this. Even I'm 36, but I'm still training every day.
You're 36? No way.
Yeah.
I hope I look like you when I'm 33 years old, dude.
How old are you?
I just turned 31. So I think in the next couple years, if I have some good muscles and I have a crowd of people chant my name and singing my theme song, I'll always kind of remember to come back and say, Joe Hendry, man, he really did inspire me.
It keeps you young.
Yeah, it really does. Well, I mean, you're still very young in the business. You still have, even though you've wrestled all across the world. One of the things I like to ask on this show and just kind of getting into wrestling, I know that you mentioned the watching Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe on your iPod back in the day. Were those two of like your main focal influences in wrestling, or as you've gone along, who's been some of your biggest influences in the business?
So I've wrestled Kurt Angle. I was very fortunate to wrestle Kurt Angle because someone on Twitter asked me, who's your dream match? And the answer I gave was my dream program is with The Rock, and my dream match is with Kurt Angle. And Kurt actually DM'd me after it and said, and said, I know who you are. You're young in the business. I don't think you're ready yet, but if you put in the work, maybe I'll give you the match one day. Yeah. And then the opportunity came up when he had finished up with TNA. He did, maybe like 5 indies. And I was lucky enough to be one of them. So, and it was I was sitting there. The match is on internet pay-per-view. It's the main event. It's being commentated on live by Jim Ross and Jim Cornette.
Yeah,
it's pretty, and you're in the main event with Kurt Angle.
Wow,
it's pretty wild. To me, ability-wise, Kurt Angle is the best of all time.
Sure,
and I'm absolute best because. If you look at, he's capable of having a 5-star match, and to be honest with you, that in itself is what makes me question the star rating system.
Yeah,
if you're going to turn around and tell me that Kurt Angle hasn't had a 5-star match, then you're using the wrong system. Yeah, quite frankly. That's just it as far as I'm concerned. But so Kurt Angle, was when he was in his prime, in my view, the best in-ring competitor in the business. Yeah. But the same guy could go back with a ukulele and a tiny hat, and he could make fun of himself. He could be the wrestling machine when he was in ECW. He was in the main event Mafia in TNA.
That's right.
He had that moment when he hit in TNA, that's probably my favorite moment in wrestling. Okay. Is where Kurt headbutts Samoa Joe. It's just like, what is going on? Because wrestling's at its best when anything can happen.
Sure.
And that moment just felt like, I can't believe this is happening. And actually, I've never really thought about it this way, but kind of what I'm doing right now, I'm not saying it's on that scale, but it kind of feels a little bit like that.
Yeah.
It's like anything could happen in wrestling right now. And I feel that it genuinely could. And TNA is a huge part of that. So there's Kurt, and The Rock was the reason I got into the business.
Okay.
And so again, I was in a so WWE put out a list of they said it was on YouTube, it said the 10 best entrances in WWE right now.
Yeah.
And I was number 9 and The Rock was number 2. And I just thought to myself, wow. It's pretty awesome to be having and also for TNA to allow me to grow like that as a performer and to go different places and to trust me to represent the company and to give me that freedom to do it. I'm very thankful for it. Very thankful for it.
Sure. And, kind of sort of similar background, almost amateur background as Kurt Angle. Did you get the seal of approval from him once you had your match or anything that he kind of told you like, yeah, I think you got it, kid? Is there something that he kind of said that resonated with you?
Yeah, so I started amateur wrestling after I'd started professional wrestling. So I started amateur wrestling at 26, which was pretty late. So I was very proud of myself for getting 2 national titles at that older age. But in terms of like pro wrestling, Kurt did tell me, he was like, he told me, he was just like, he was like, whatever, he was like, you've got it. He was like, you're going to be something in this business. And I remember seeing a podcast. This was like a couple of years ago where he was saying, I just, I really thought that kid was going to be huge. Like, I don't know what. And the host was like, well, he's actually just signed to TNA. And then Kurt was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I saw another clip where Kurt was talking about the success I'm having now. And he's like, he was saying it should have happened a while ago. Like, I can't remember the exact wording, but I felt like, when I met Kurt before I came back, because I met Kurt just before I came back to TNA, and I just felt like I'd let him down. You know what I mean? Like he gave me that match, and I felt like, man, I've not done enough with this. I've not done enough yet. What am I going? And at the time I'm like 31, 32. Yeah, I've just been released from Ring of Honor, and nothing's happening, and I'm going, man, I feel like I've let him down. So to be able to prove Kurt Angle right with what I'm doing now in TNA wrestling, it's a great feeling, and I'm really looking forward to. I believe there might be an event that we're both booked on coming up actually. So like an indie event or a signing or something we're both on. So I'm really looking forward to crossing paths with Kurt again. Yeah, it'd be almost like a full circle moment. 100%, and he's the greatest. Like he's just he's awesome. I couldn't have had just what an awesome experience wrestling him. What a great person, great human being. Yeah. And, when I was a little kid growing up watching the Attitude Era with Kurt Angle, he was just kind of thrusted in sort of like the middle sort of end of the Attitude Era. And that was when all the favorites like Stone Cold was kind of getting a little bit older, Triple H, and then The Rock. So they had to bring in sort of these new batches of superstars. Kurt Angle did his job as a kid when I was a kid because I hated him. It didn't take me till getting older and understanding the business a little bit more as a more mature fan to really understand, my goodness, what he meant to the business and everything that he's done, and learning about his amateur background. And pro wrestling is not something that's really easy to kind of grasp, and he had the hold of it from the character standpoint. Like you said, that the ukulele and the tiny cowboy hat, he was hilarious, but he'd also fold you up into a pretzel if he had to. There's always been some sort of like talks of him and Brock Lesnar going at it on an airplane and stuff like that. So, and he's a physically imposing guy still in his older ages, and it's great to see him doing great now. And I hope whenever you run into him again, you just kind of get the more, you got it, kid. And I'm pretty sure that he already thinks that now, but he might be looking forward to meeting you now more than you're looking forward to meeting him. Is that something weird to think about? That's possible. I don't think that's possible. Don't sell yourself short here, Joe. You have a huge weekend coming up. Couple more questions. Once again, we're with TNA Impact superstar Joe Hendry, Babyface's headquarters. I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to kind of help promote this show. It's going down at the Old Forester Paris Town Hall. You said you're going to be teaming up with the Hardy brothers, and day after that you also have NXT No Mercy. You are battling for the NXT Heavyweight Championship. Now, what's that sort of feel like? Can you imagine telling yourself this 6 months ago? So I actually have there's one more event, and there's 3 days. So I have the Friday we've got the pay-per-view, we've got the
it's Saturday, sold out, by the way.
Yeah, which is sold out, Emergence, and then on Saturday tickets are still available for TNA. That's so right. I'm doing both TNA shows, and then I will be going to Denver to compete for the NXT Championship.
An actual workhorse, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I have to say, genuinely, I was looking at my schedule, and there was like 2 weekends ago where like I say, training at the PC full time, NXT on Tuesday, TNA on Thursday, indies and signings at the weekend, there was one point where I was like, I have to be one of the busiest wrestlers in the world right now. Like, I have to be, you know? So, and I'm really thankful to all the fans who I've met thousands of fans like over the last couple of months.
That's sweet.
It's been awesome. I've been very grateful for those opportunities and just the support, because when you do get into a position like this, you do see a lot more negative comments and things like that, and anything.
Those are the people that I'm arguing with online, by the way.
Well, you shouldn't, because it's a waste of time.
Yeah,
give your energy to the positive ones.
That's right. That's a good advice.
And the thing is, the only comments that really hurt are the ones that are true.
Okay.
Know? And you're maybe not always in a place where you want to confront what's true.
Sure.
But being, having more eyes on you, that comes with it. So when I do these signings and I just have, fans coming up and like they make these little bracelet things and support, like they draw me pictures, like, it's just the positivity that I've got it's been absolutely unbelievable. So I'm very grateful to be in this position. And I would be, if you'd have told me this was happening 6 months ago, but that's when wrestling's at its best.
Yeah.
When absolutely anything can happen. We're in a period of time where anything can happen. We are in an era where, for example, we're in a situation where I could be the first person ever to hold the NXT Championship and the TNA World Championship.
Yeah.
And I think I've put myself in a very strong position to do that.
What do you think that would mean for TNA Impact to bring a WWE NXT belt over and start having to be shown on Anthem Sports, and then you're the forefront of that, and you are the guy that's carrying another promotion, especially like WWE NXT's. What do you think that would mean for TNA?
Well, when you say so, I think that I would argue that I am the guy in TNA right now. I don't have the World Championship, but I'm sorry, but I am doing business for this company, and I deserve that shot at the championship. It's my time to get a fair shot at it. I feel I didn't. It was the 6-man championship title match at Slammiversary. I feel like I perhaps wasn't given a fair shot. I have not had a one-on-one championship title match for the TNA World Championship yet, nor the NXT Championship.
Yeah.
I will say this: we're in an era where absolutely anything can happen, and that is when it's most fun. And here's the thing: a lot of people are saying it's impossible. Again, this would have, me even like showing up in another company would have felt impossible, 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah.
You got to go back to December and see where I was and see where I am now. Please tell me it's impossible, because I love it. Because I love it when people tell me it's impossible, and then we go, well, turns out it's not.
Yeah. A couple more questions and we'll get you out of here. Joe Hendry, TNA Impact superstar. You can catch him. He is a workhorse, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to be busy this whole weekend. You got everything going down at Old Foresters Paris Town Hall. We get to see him in action with all sorts of legends in the wrestling business. It's going to be really, really fun. When we look forward to Sunday, when we're talking about NXT No Mercy, you were rudely interrupted by All Ego Ethan Page last night on NXT while you're cutting one of your famous concerts. And now you kind of got another interesting aspect thrown in, another guy who has heat with Ethan Page. You now have Trick Williams in there. Do you feel like Trick will kind of level the score in between? You think he'll call it fairly?
I would rather have Trick in there than it just be a regular match.
Yeah.
Personally, that's where my mindset is right now. You know how it is in the business. Don't trust anybody, but I have to say, of all the people I could have as the referee, I'm glad that Trick is going to be in there to maintain order. Yeah,
and we're so looking forward to it. You could also find that on the Peacock app when you go in and log in this weekend. Just one more question. We are a radio station, and you are very much in tune with your music side. If you weren't into wrestling, you mentioned that you like music. You think you'd be doing music? Would you be curating music? What do you think you'd be doing if it wasn't for wrestling?
So, my 3 areas of interest are professional wrestling, music, and fighting.
Yeah.
So I would be doing. I'll be honest, I don't believe in, multiple paths and timelines and what if and all that, because I think you live life once. Life is a journey. You have to be open the random nature of how life unfolds and be grateful for the journey. And this is it. You
Yeah.
get one shot at life. And, you know, I was a musician for 10 years, and sure, I wasn't like super successful, but then I guess I have had a charting single now. So
we need to get that played on our radio stations for every bigwigs that's listening.
Yeah, I'll take the royalties. That sounds good.
Yeah, we'll find out how to do that. Well, here in radio, they pay you with food or some sort of tickets to country concerts, but we could work that out for you some other way. We do believe in Joe Hendry. We appreciate everything that you do for the business, for you putting your body on the line, your hard work, time away from family and stuff like that. Certainly appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Now that you have this life-changing platform on the Baby Faces podcast on iHeartRadio, is there anybody that you'd like to thank and give a shout out to along your journey, or what you're looking forward to? What's next for Joe Hendry after this weekend?
I'm thankful for the fans, is what I would say, because ultimately they are if you really boil it down, they are the catalyst for everything that's happened for me. You know, if I make my entrance and they weren't going crazy, then none of this would be happening. So it's like I say, it's that relationship with the wrestlers and the fans. If it wasn't for it takes all of us. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So I'm very grateful for the support that I've had.
Absolutely. Well, once again, we thank you, and you just sitting with you this last half an hour. I know we said we'd go 15 minutes. Sorry about that, but I can get the yapping, dude. I could get the talking and talking. Billy will attribute to that just as well. But I can see that you are very humble and that you are very respected in the business. And if anything were to happen and the fans weren't cheering you once your music hit, then I have full confidence that you'd make a way to run with that and still remain relevant in the business, because I think that you are one of the youngest, brightest superstars up and coming today. And we're excited to see what you do this weekend and going forward, because you never know. A couple months away is the Royal Rumble, and that's a couple hours away from here in Indianapolis. And you never know what's going to go on in wrestling. You never know where you're going to see Joe Hendry. All you got to say his name, and he will appear. You are listening to the Baby Faces podcast on iHeartRadio. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joe, for coming out.
Thank you.